Hello, my 3D printer peeps. I'm here with the Creality SparkX powered by Creality, something to that effect, i7 or whatever it's called, who cares? And the CFS Lite. Some of you are looking at the CFS Lite and going, what on earth is that toy? How does it even work? Well, after some use, it's weird to say it, but the CFS Lite might actually be better than a CFS. Let's have a look and talk about why. First, it's worth noting Bambu Lab has employed the same technique used by the CFS Lite years ago on the A1. However, they're not alone. Anycubic also utilizes it on the S1 and FlashForge on the ADX5. What am I talking about? Of course, I am talking about multiple paths for the filament via multiple PTFE tubes. That is, each filament having its own path to the toolhead via its own PTFE tube. Understanding what makes this possibly better also helps understand what makes such a simple filament system work in the first place. Let's check it out. Here I am looking at the back of a Bambu Lab P2S and the back of a Creality CFS. I'm using a P2S because I don't feel like lugging a Creality machine down the stairs into my studio right now, and because they work basically the same with a hub like this on the back. The CFS or AMS have to push each individual spool of filament through a PTFE tube, into the buffer, out the buffer, into the tool head. To switch filaments, it must retract that filament through the PTFE, through the buffer, through the PTFE, back into the machine, where it then loads the next spool through this entire path again. This process requires all sorts of gears and motors and sensors and springs. Here is the bottom of the Creality CFS. You can see these PTFE paths, these couplers, this four-way, 4 individual sensors, this gear here with pressure applied via a spring and lever. These little guide tubes, individual feeders with motors and gears, motorized rollers with gears and pads, more rollers, more parts, more parts, more parts, and more parts. Each and every spring, roller, feeder, gear, motor, tube, buffer, sensor create the opportunity for failure. And failure is what we've seen on a lot of situations with the CFS. Jams, sensor failures, spring tensioner issues, all sorts of problems causing really powerful, badass modern machines to jam up and fail due to issues between all of the components required in a traditional CFS to function. It also goes without saying that lengthy pass from the CFS to the machine makes each individual filament change longer. However, the CFS Lite has almost none of that. The CFS Lite is simply a box with rollers that are not attached to any kind of gearing, feeder, stepper motor, spring, buffer, PTFE tube. They're just sitting here free rolling. How do you ask? Is it possible for it to spool and unspool properly without bird nesting or causing other problems? Well, the answer is simple. It really doesn't have to. The only functional component in the entire box is the feeder right here. All this feeder does is push and pull filament. That's all it does, nothing else, push and pull filament. And the magic of how such a simple mechanism can perform all of the functions of a filament changing system is actually in the tool head. This is the i7 tool head, and here you can see not 1, but 4 individual PTFE tubes feeding to the hot end. You might think, wow, what a mess, how bulky, how cumbersome, what a step backwards. The other machines require only 1. However, because there are 4, each individual filament remains in its PTFE tube and only needs to be loaded about 2 inches to enter the tool head, then retracted about 2 inches to unload from the tool head, where the next filament can push forward about 2 inches and then retract about 2 inches. This means the entire loading and unloading process of the machine takes place right here in this 2-inch section. This is how the CFS Lite works without having to actually turn the filament spools. All this feeder needs to do is retract 1 inch and load 1 inch. Retract, load, retract, load. That's it. So when it retracts, the filament only goes down the slightest bit and the spool doesn't actually need to turn at all. And when it loads, it moves 1 inch or 2. And then as it continues to print, the spool will simply be pulled along and roll with it, keeping that tension and the spool properly spooled at all times, only unspooling 1 or 2 inches at a time and then respooling. Therefore, there's no actual need to load and unload, turn and rotate these spools more than 1 inch at a time. I think you can see this red filament right here. It's loaded, it's unloaded, it's loaded, it's unloaded, it's loaded, it's unloaded. That's all these feeders need to do. Push 1 or 2 inches, pull 1 or 2 inches between every filament change. Thanks to the fact that there is nothing more than a single feeder per spool, no springs, no levers, no 4-way hubs, no PTFE tubes, no individual filament sensors, no lengthy PTFE path, no buffers full of springs and sensors, virtually nothing to fail or interfere with the filament's path to the tool head. We end up with almost no reasons for the machine to jam, fail, or error out. This is why you'll find setups like this on the ADX5, the Cobra S1, the A1, and now the SparkX i7. It's a very simple setup, and quite frankly, it works. The units cost less because there are no components, and the most important part, they work. Is the i7's CFS Lite actually better and more reliable than a full-blown CFS? Is this something more manufacturers should be looking at as opposed to these hulking beasts filled with components that can cause problems? Could it be that this toy-like CFS is actually better and more dependable than a full-blown CFS? It looks like the answer is probably yes. Having looked at all of this, the reason for the i7 to use an all-new CFS Lite rather than a CFS start to become clear and start to appear to be a good choice. I'm Mr. Greg, and you're on 3D Rundown.